Hello, everyone. I'm just going to give a couple minutes before diving in to have a few people join. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Okay. So far, so good. Awesome.
You probably hear the dog in the background. Let me just mute for a second here.
Okay, no problem. All set?
Yeah, I'm good. Go for it.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MP Shift TV show where we're kind of newly rebranded this online talk show. Before we were doing a combination of the Changes That Heal book club and empowerment sessions for ambitious women who want to live a purpose driven life. But recently, we are expanding our realm to really address the call to creative entrepreneurship. And I am so happy to have Sophia Tuckett here from Aim for You Consulting. She is a confidence consultant and coach. And I just want to allow her to introduce herself. And then I'll go into what this show is going to be all about. And then we'll dive right into this amazing discussion. Okay? So, Sophia, please introduce yourself.
Hey, thank you, Natalia, for having me on the show, actually. I appreciate it. So, I focus on confidence after infidelity, and low self-esteem. So, supporting women who have faced betrayal and, maybe at a low point in life and looking to reinvent, what confidence looks like for them, or women that have low self-esteem and they're looking for support. So that's what I coach to and consult to.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and so as I've already stated, we are going to change the content of this online show to talk more about the creative entrepreneurship space. And it is drastically different than traditional 9 to 5 roles because you write the script, right? You write your job description, you write the will for your team, you hone in on the purpose of your business. And so for me, specifically for the Queen Up program and the Shift into Success Sisterhood, we focus on three things. Number one being self discovery, that really is a process of understanding who you are and the purpose that you were created to serve, and the purpose that is going to naturally align with your gifts, with your talents. And then we talk about personal brand development and then entrepreneurship, all of which Sophia is exploring and navigating. So that's why she's here today. And to be a confidence coach after betrayal is so specific, right? It
Yeah.
is so specific, but it really speaks to a need that a lot of us have experienced, unfortunately. And when we think about the trauma and the emotional implications of betrayal, it can be very devastating and it can change the trajectory of your life, basically,
Yeah.
if you do not go get the help that you need. And if you do not just really give yourself that attention to heal from. And so, Sophia, with that being said, can you share a little bit more about your business, how you work, whether it's one on one or in groups, or what you have going on within your brand?
Yeah. So first I want to just kind of touch on why. I've chose confidence after infidelity. And the main reason for that is it just gives like a little bit of background. But
Yes.
after I faced infidelity, I was by far the lowest point I've ever hit in my life. And it literally took me um, to a point where I was re looking at who I was as a person, like my identity.
Yeah.
And it set me back on multiple levels on how I felt in my body. Like I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel confident. I was like, what does confidence even mean? So when I was niching down to start my business, I really sat there and I was just like, okay, well, I feel confident now, but that's how I define confidence for me. And we all look at confidence on different levels, right? Like how I define it's definitely not going to be the way you do. So I was like, I sat with myself and it took me a couple weeks, but I felt drawn to confidence after infidelity because there's women out there where they may be at their low point, but they're not reaching out for support. For me, when I was in that low space, it was lonely. I was very lonely and I'm a private person and a lot of us are private and there's so much you want to tell your girlfriends or your mother, right? So it gives women that safe space to have a consultant, um, coach support you and re-look at, you know, who is the woman I want to become now? Am I staying? Am I going? And what does that look like?
Yes, and I can certainly say that I can feel what you are speaking to, like, especially if you experience infidelity in marriage, it can rock your whole identity, right? It can make you question, okay, who am I? What am I here for? And then to go through that slump and to try to do life again in the face of what you've experienced is um, it seems like a really, really high slope to climb, right? And so, is that what inspired you to say, hey, this is something that maybe um, conversations with family and friends may not be enough, or like what was really the turning point for you when you said this needs more attention, this is an issue that needs more attention?
I think because although infidelity is happening to us all the time, you know what I mean? Like it may not be every day, but once you experience, it gives you that big jolt. And my experience was very lonely, right? And I think, and I truly feel it doesn't have to be that lonely if you have support. So when I was niching down, I was like, well, there's a need for this because I wish I had someone to support me then, and I
Mhm.
didn't, right? And I don't really see a lot of like coaching to infidelity or support unless you're getting a therapist, and you're going down that route, but it's not niche down even, right? Like the
Right.
therapy that you may get. So I really felt pulled to, niche down to this level of infidelity and confidence. And even just, dealing with low self-esteem, right? That was the space that I sat in for quite some time. And I really had to look at, what was going on within me. And it inspired me, looking back, okay, where's the lowest points in my life? How could I support women around this? And eventually I want to support youth too, right? But that's another conversation. But yeah, I feel like it's important because without the self-esteem to um, self-esteem and courage kind of go hand in hand in my eyes. You know what I mean? So if you feel the need to start some type of business, but you don't have the confidence to even wrap your head around taking steps to do it, you're not going to do it, right? So having that courage and the self-esteem to take those steps is truly important in so many areas in our lives.
Yes, yes. And that's often what the call to entrepreneurship is. It's like it's something that you have experienced, it's something that you've had to heal through. And as a result of your healing and empowerment journey, you're equipped, right, with this wealth of knowledge this wealth of experience and results, right?
Right.
That you can help other people to go through the journey. And that's one thing that I help my clients do is really find what their purpose is, find, the idea that is really going to inspire them to dedicate all that entrepreneurship requires, right? And pulls out of us. So can you speak to
Yeah.
that a little bit? Like, when you started to like, when you came up with your idea, what was how did your discovery process look or your branding process look? What were some of the major steps that, you went through as you began to make this a safe space and a space that you feel confident to promote and reach out to other women for?
Yeah. So because it's such a private topic, I don't find like even now I'm not reaching out to women. They're reaching out to me. And it's for them if they feel or they're in harmony with like a post or something that's just clicked with them, I may get a DM, right? When it comes to branding though, when I first started out, I wasn't branding anything. I didn't even know what that would look like. I was just kind of putting myself out there and being vulnerable with what I had to offer as a coach. Now with branding, I feel like I've gotten a little bit better, but still, I feel like there's room for improvement, right? Um, my business is not yet where I need it to be. And with that room for improvement and growing and having a team, I feel like I'm going to get there. It's just a matter of putting the puzzle together.
Yes, yes, yes. So can you just speak a little about before Aim for Consulting? What were you doing before?
Yes.
Was that motivation for you to find an idea, or did this idea just come up as a result of what you experienced, or was it a
Yeah.
combination of both?
No. So great question, by the way. I I have a finance background. So I was like
Oh,
7.5 years, 8 years, I'd say, as a manager. Well, started as, a financial sales rep and then went into role of managing a branch at a local lending institution. And after my second mat leave, I really was questioning, like, what am I doing here? I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I'd come home with migraines and it was like late evenings and I had two kids under 5 and I just really had to um, move into a space of like, what is my purpose? I was constantly asking myself this. And as a manager, I was constantly hearing people's stories about this, that, infidel, like personal stuff, getting loans from me. And I was like, okay, well, why is everyone telling me their business? Like, I'm not asking for the whole story, just like, certain things. And it was like people were gravitating to me, and I naturally have I felt like and I still do now, like people just want to connect, you know? So I took that on, started with coaching, did the whole program for coaching and I niched down there. But yeah, I have a finance background.
Oh my God, our story mirrors so much because my background is as CPA for 15 years in corporate America. And you are absolutely, I love how you called out the point that people were naturally gravitating towards you to
Yeah.
get nurtured in this space. And, when you are answering or hearing the call, first off, hearing the call to entrepreneurship with this creative idea to meet a very real and specific need. It seems like your eyes are opened up to the need, right? Because you're hearing, okay, I need to make a shift. This career is not what is it's not up. It's not cutting it. It's not cutting it. It's not giving you the fulfillment. And that was
Yeah.
the same thing for me. Um, so with that being said, when you say, okay, this is the idea that I'm going to move forward in, and you begin to create content for it. This is a very big thing because in order to promote your brand or to establish your brand, you have to create content and lots of content. So what sorts of content do you create within your brand?
Yeah, so I feel like, and this is truth, I can only speak for myself. I've been slow with content lately.
Mhm.
I've saved throughout the summer, and I think mainly because my kids are home and just the bouncing and multitasking of everything. But um, I do reels. I try to speak the truth in reels,
Yeah,
things that are gonna resonate with women that even if it's like that small little pull, it's just like planting the seeds, right? Like, what is it that can pull them in, potential clients in that feel, you know what, maybe I do need her services. What is she speaking about? What does she have to offer, kind of thing. So, from posts to reels to um, somewhat putting my personal life out there, because you can find love after infidelity, but when you're stuck in that space, you don't feel that you can, or there is another, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's the furthest from the truth, and that's something I speak about also.
yay. Saying hi to Shar. She's a fellow entrepreneur as well.
Hello.
Sophia, do not forget about your podcast. That's
Oh
you.
yeah, so my pod I know. So my podcast also. So with the podcast though, it's not just focused on infidelity. It's literally like, supporting women with their mindset, living their best life, and self-acceptance. So I'm bringing, other women on, telling their stories and throwing ideas out there on even, how are you speaking to yourself? What type of things, what words are you using? And self-doubt. So these are just a few topics that I've thrown out there, even setting boundaries, right? What kind of boundaries could you set so your loved ones or someone that's betrayed you in the past can't, or you won't accept that. So you're not going to accept that for second time around, right? So it's almost like a self-help type of podcast setting, but it's great and I love it.
Yes, and I think it's amazing too. And I
Oh, thank you.
was a guest on her podcast. It's coming out. It's not out yet, but
Yes, it's not out yet. It's so true.
I hope it's okay to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, with the content, like when you start to answer the call to creative entrepreneurship, and you find that it naturally complements your flow, like your
Yeah.
like, organic flow. It matches you energetically. It helps you to really feel like you're positioning yourself to meet a real need in the world. And to create creative spaces, in niches that have not really been addressed like that.
Mm-hmm.
So fulfilling, right?
It's very fulfilling. So that's the thing. It's fulfilling, but on the flip side, you know, there's those days when you're like, oh, right? Like
Yes.
it's not so fulfilling. Maybe your numbers this month, like there's months where my numbers are not where I'd want them to be. And it's
Mhm,
just like kind of coming back to the self and realizing, okay, but where you are right now doesn't dictate where you might be in 6 months, a year from now. And then
mhm.
when and if you get into that space, you really need to come back to, okay, well, let's look at how far I've come, right?
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
need to look at how far I've come so I'm not beating myself up and I'm having some grace for
yeah,
myself and I'm not sitting in a funk because we can get there and that's okay, but let's not stay there.
yeah, yeah, that's true, and, I'll just say, for myself, I don't like I no one feels as though they are where they want to be,
Yeah.
but the simple fact is that because I know that this is something that I've committed
Yep.
myself to, um, I find that a lot of times it just does not feel like work. I mean, there are various aspects of my business where I'm like, okay, I wish I could get help. And you do find things that, okay, as you can expand your team, those would be like the first things that you would delegate and get help on. But I feel like it's such a personal development journey too. Like it's not just for professional development, but just personally speaking, because
Hmm.
this is my legacy. This is something that I've
Yeah.
dedicated my life to. I feel I feel endless energy, honestly. Like, of course, I have difficult times, but for the most part, because I'm continually working on my mindset, it's like I just know, okay, it's going to take a little longer for me to reach my goals. But, can you speak
Mhm.
a little bit about um, how you ensure that you have the confidence to just keep on going, or share your self-care tips to not burn out, like just something to speak to how you sustain the longevity of the journey.
Yeah. So I feel like you guys can hear my dog or my sister's
No,
dog, but
no, I don't
it's
hear it.
you
No.
don't hear him rustling around. Okay. So I think there's two parts to this because everybody talks about mindset, and mindset is fabulous, right? Obviously, you want to have the right mindset going in, but that's just your psychology, how you look at things. You really need to have some grit. You need to have some discipline because if you're not willing to constantly pivot when things don't go right, you're going to just feel stuck all the time because things may not go right. You may create this like phenomenal 6-week program and no one comes. I've experienced it. No
Yeah.
one comes, right? And so now what? How can you promote it better? What's next? Like you need to constantly ask yourself how and what can I do to make this better? But one of the main things I think that supports like my heart set is like taking some pause.
Uh-oh, I lost your sound, Sophia. Mm-mm. Okay, now you're muted. There you go. There you go.
Okay, so I'm taking off my headset because I don't know what happened there, but I was just saying, taking pauses, like really having some grace for yourself and
Mhm.
recognizing your health is way more important than your business.
Yes.
So if that, like for me, working out is an outlet, right? So if I'm frustrated or overwhelmed or just feeling anxious in any way, working out and getting that energy, because it's like the energy will stay in your tissues and it's
Yes.
just going to hinder you somewhere else later. Just get that energy out, release it, and just find some time for you. Take those pauses throughout the day, instead of having these crazy to-do lists. I literally now only have like 5, maybe 6 things instead of 12 things on my to-do list in one day. Like that's that's huge for me to like
Yeah.
scale it back so I don't feel like, okay, well, I'm not able to accomplish all these things, you know what I mean? So just pivoting when you feel like things are not going your way and such too.
That is such a good point, Sophia. Oh my goodness. And that's the thing is, you know, you get to write the script and get to see, you know,
Right.
it's not very useful, or this is not productive, or this is overwhelming me and it's taking me out of my it's taking you out and stretching you a
So
little.
then,
And I have noticed that in my own journey as well. And so, um, one thing that I've learned for myself is like, okay, what are the most critical activities that I need to focus on, right?
mhm.
And that's something that I think is a benefit of entrepreneurship is, you know how like in 9 to 5s, you always felt like there's some sort of busy work that you just had to do, had to do just because it was a part of rule 201 dot A,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so with that, I appreciate being able to write the script and being able to say, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Or something that I'm doing most recently is like I blocked off Fridays for meetings, and now I feel like I need to block off Mondays too, just because I need more balance for myself, in this current season of my life. So can you also speak to some of the benefits of entrepreneurship when you like and some of the things that you have decided for yourself because you are your own boss.
Yeah, so that's a great question also because coming into the summer with my podcast, for example, um, I was thinking, the kids are going to be home. How am I going to do this podcast? How am I going to have the downtime to do this? And what I do with the podcast is I have 13 weeks. I'm 13 weeks ahead, anyways. So I was just like in April thinking about, June and July and whatever.
Mhm.
And I decided to take the whole summer off. Although I'm still podcasting, I'm still networking and writing, but there's no pressure because I took the summer off. I have content still running throughout the summer, but
Mhm.
just not me actually doing it because I'm so far ahead. So like planning and taking, being able to take time off and not feel stressed is extremely beneficial if you can get to the point where you're planning ahead of time for what is coming up. So flexibility, having summers off, things like that, you probably wouldn't be able to do unless you're a teacher,
Yeah,
right?
yes, yes, and I feel like, for me, I'm still like I gave the example that I feel like a bird that was released out of the cage, but I'm still like trying to test the limit, to how far I'll fly away or how much I'll flex my freedom, because
Mhm.
do have that mentality. Well, since I'm in business for myself, I have to take care of myself. Like I have to work. Um,
Right.
but I also feel like if I am in hustle and grind mode and I'm not taking care of myself, then I'm defeating the purpose of
Mm,
making that decision, as well
absolutely.
as I'm taking away from my creative flow, because no one can really flow creatively and come up with new innovative ideas just in hustle and grind mode, right?
Right. Yeah.
Have you experienced that? Like, can you
Yeah.
speak to, because some people think that when you answer the call to entrepreneurship, it's just like you have to become a slave to your business and you have to create another job for yourself. So how
Yeah.
do you find that balance to not become a prisoner of your business
Yeah.
and just like that abundance mindset that wealth is self-care, like those types of things.
Yeah. So I gave the example of like instead of having 12 to 15 things on my to-do list in one day, I now have like 5 or 6, right?
Yeah,
That's one thing. Cut it back. It's not necessary, right? There is always tomorrow, but always look at what needs to be done today. Like what is the big picture of what I'm trying to accomplish in this quarter? But I just read this book. It's been a couple of months now, but it's called The Accidental Creative.
mhm,
And it's Todd something that wrote it, and it's amazing because he speaks about different ways to cluster activities so you're not moving back and forth. He
yeah,
speaks about, and it's and I and now I've now implemented it into how I do things, and it's phenomenal. It's great. But taking time to actually create with your hands, if that's drawing, painting, getting your hands dirty with some clay. It doesn't have to be content, but take time away from your business to have some self-care and have some anchors in your life where you are doing things you actually enjoy, not the kids, not your spouse or partner, you.
yeah,
Focus on you. What do I like to do? You know what I mean? Is it drawing? Like I personally paint. I've
mhm,
just gotten into doing clay, getting my hands dirty with clay. But that's just doing things for you so you have that downtime because there's always going to be those ideas that happen when you're in flow working on something with your hands.
yes. That is so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
And um because like even I think even before I quit my job, I was working on like Saturdays and Sundays when my kids were with their dad. Like I was just always working, not realizing how when you're always working, you're expanding the work. Like when you're working, the work expands,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
there's like 1,000 tests that you're never finished.
Right. Yeah. You have to like throw in the towel or else it just takes over your life.
Exactly. And so, I began to scale back for myself, and also, just try to get away from the screens, like you're saying. That's one thing. Just turning the phone off, getting away from the screens.
Yeah.
Or for me, like actually being mindful enough to play with my kids. Toss the balloon up. Balloon volleyball. It's so good to just have those cut off times, because again, um, you need your creativity. We need our energy, right? We need that balance that's going to help build the business. Like that downtime is probably even more important than the grind time.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
So, so the thing is, I think with the grind time, and I hate using grind because it's just like it really doesn't have to be a grind, you know? But
yeah,
it's about how you're spending it, right? Like, are you focused? Or are you picking up your phone every 20 minutes and be
yeah,
like, oh, just check, let me check my email? No. Or are you like taking your phone, turning it off, and you have a timer on your laptop or whatever it is that you're working on, and you're giving it 110% for the full 2 hours of whatever it is that you're doing? Because then if you have these quote unquote grind time and you're on grind mode, by the time you're done in 2 hours, you're like, man, I didn't do anything. I still have so much to, you feel like you still have so much to do because
yeah.
you're constantly distracted.
Mhm, mhm. So true. And for myself, like, although I don't mind it all the time, but I block off on my calendar deep work, for a few hours to really give whatever I'm working on the attention. Sometimes I fall off horribly, honestly, because there's so many different demands. But that's another reason why I just decided Mondays I need off the books, to just really take care of me, take care of my household, and get some more quality work in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, another question. Okay. So, what sorts of trainings in your preparation for entrepreneurship, what sorts of trainings did you take so that you could feel equipped and confident?
Yeah. So I did the coaching. I'm a certified coach. I
Okay,
use the word,
okay.
yeah. So I use the word consulting because I just prefer it sounds, or consultant. It just sounds more professional to me.
Mhm.
Um, but last year I took a course in positive psychology
Okay.
that I really enjoyed because I'm interested in the brain and, things like that and how we operate. And I found that course phenomenal,
Mhm.
right? Because it gives you it gave me a lot of insight on live like wellness, like
Yeah.
what does your life look like if you're living well? Do you know what I mean? And what's the psychology behind it and self-care and things like that? And like how to be able to, it's one thing to know it, but then like supporting a client and giving them ideas how they can explore having balance, self-care, and what that wellness could look like for them. So that was phenomenal.
Mhm.
It's one thing
Okay.
to do things for yourself and you're just doing because it feels good, right? But actually having the substance of like, actually there's psychology behind this. Go outside for a 20-minute walk kind of thing, right? Um,
Yes.
yeah. So that's one of the courses I've taken, and I have a couple more coming in the future too.
Awesome. For me, I guess I've this is gonna sound funny, but I've taken a lot of just business courses,
Right.
with branding, sales, marketing, like all of those things, to really pull out of me what I felt like was there just from my experience in ministry, my experience in life, my experience in
Mhm.
my own marriage that I feel helps me help my clients,
Mhm.
um, but with that being said, that's a good point that when you are taking trainings to support your creative idea in entrepreneurship, it is just it's another liberating thing to take to be able to train in this and figure out how to apply it to help your people more, right? And
Yeah.
in your experience, like in your practice, do you have like a framework or a curriculum that you take people through? Like, for example, you have a woman that experienced infidelity, and right now she's broken, maybe recently divorced. Do you take them through a
Yeah.
specific process each time?
Yeah. So AIM, there's actually AIM came about through the framework that I built
Okay,
when in school. So A is for awareness.
okay,
I know you're like, ooh, what is she gonna say? Your face changed. I is for intention,
yeah,
and M is for mapping, right? Because you're gonna map out what's next. Who's the woman you want to become is kind of like my slogan.
mhm,
And um, taking them through that framework, there's a lot of self-awareness that comes about.
mhm,
And in that journey, if it's 8 weeks one-on-one coaching or if it's 12, um, it's a beautiful thing to see women just blossom, right?
yeah,
Because they're tapping into ideas and emotions that they haven't unpacked,
mhm,
and now they're having real, like, just true breakthroughs with what does the future hold and how am I going to get that and what steps do I need to do to make it there? What's the map? What does that map look like to get there?
yes. How does it feel to know that, like, I mean, like, what does it do for you to know that you've gone through this journey, that you've created a curriculum, you're
Yeah.
connecting with women probably all around the US, you know, and or globally because that's how technology helps us to stretch out. What does it do for you that a traditional 9 to 5 could not do?
Oh, wow. So the traditional 9 to 5, as a branch manager, it was very like numbers, targets, and that was fine. But something switched to me, like the competitive side in me is still there, but not in the way um, I used to be when I was younger. You know what I mean? So it's more like, how am I being at service to you? How can I help? What do you need next? So having women go through the course, or not the course, I guess the programs,
Mhm.
it's really fulfilling because to see them realize, the self-belief, having the courage to take these new steps, putting, like, they're stepping out of their comfort zone and they're really growing. It's beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the other thing is it sounds like, again, you have such an empathetic, such a nurturing, um, personality or characteristics to you, and so to be able to have an outlet for that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Something that I could same thing, like, in corporate America, in the cube, in the spreadsheets, in the monthly update meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
How did that come out, you know? And that was really, um, what helped me to realize, like, I need more of a full-time outlet where I can be me and where I can talk about what's all packed up and concentrated in my heart on a full-time basis.
Hmm.
Are you an author, Sophia?
No, I haven't written a book yet.
Okay. Is that
There's
a
a
goal of
big
yours?
yet there.
Yeah, me too.
Not yet.
Me too, me too. But, that's another way, to, um I feel like writing a book, this is a little bit off topic, but I feel like writing a book really helps, process your journey. You know,
Mm.
what you write it on, it really helps you process your journey. And if you want to use it as a marketing tool, it's an amazing marketing tool to really intimately connect with prospective clients as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
absolutely.
Anything else that you want to share about your journey?
I
Highs,
think
lows,
I
goals.
think you know what? The only thing that comes to mind is this. Anyone that is even remotely drawn to the idea and starting their business, just know it literally is a journey. Like nothing's going to happen overnight, not a year, not 2 years. Like you're going to have your ups and downs, right?
Yes.
But if you can recognize that where you are today doesn't dictate where you're going to be in a year or in 2 years from now, that is going to be so impactful because we sometimes, when we get in ruts, we only look at now. So it's like tunnel vision. We have a hard time seeing the future. And
Mhm.
then our energy shifts. So you're not vibrating where you need to be to get to where, what next year may look like if you stay stuck. So honestly, stay disciplined. So Will Smith, I'm listening to his audiobook right now, and at the beginning of it, he's talking about laying these bricks, just
Mhm.
going in and laying these bricks every day. And I was just like, it's so true with even the business, even those days where I'm like, ugh, not feeling it. No, I still need to show up every day, give 110%, and just stay engaged in what you need to do to get to where you need to be.
Yes. Oh, that is so good. I love that analogy of laying bricks because that's how I feel every single day.
Yeah, the book. Oh my gosh. So I'm listening to the audiobook of it, but it's phenomenal the way he positioned that, how him and his brother had to build a wall for
Mhm.
his dad. And his dad literally was like, stop focusing on the big picture of building this huge 20-foot whatever wall. Just
Mhm.
look at every brick, which to me is like, what's the next step to that goal?
Yes.
How am I going to get there? Where's the map? What's the next step, right? Take that next step. Do your best while you're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have about 20 or 15 more minutes.
Okay.
A little bit about when you were still working in your 9 to 5, did you start this as a side hustle?
So I was still in school,
You were still in school. Okay.
and then pandemic happened. I was like, this is perfect. Why not now? Why don't I do this now? I should do this now. My
Yeah.
husband's like, do whatever you want. And I was like, okay, this is a sign I'm doing it. So I was
Oh,
like on board. What's my name? Like, what's the company's name? How am I going to position this? And yeah. And you learn as you go, right? Like nothing's perfect. You cannot focus on perfection because perfection is just so hindering. How to
yes.
just take the leap and do what feels right, get connected to your intuition.
Mhm. Were
Yeah,
there times where you questioned yourself or where you were like doubting yourself? Like, was this the right
all
thing?
the time. Still
Okay.
doubt myself. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and like, no, I still doubt myself. Am I doing the right thing? Like, God, show me a sign, please, universe. I'm constantly like, but the huge, I think for me at the beginning, it was like, what should the name be?
Mhm. Yeah.
What should I call my business? And
Yeah.
then found myself taking input from like too many people, which
Mm.
was like cluttering. And I was like, okay, wait, why am I asking you? You don't even do like, friends. Like, why am I asking friends? You guys are not coaches. Why am I taking your opinion?
Yeah.
Oh, I had friends who were like, don't put numbers. People get confused. I'm like, wait, why am I even listening? Like, what feels right to me? So
Right.
sometimes, listening to friends and family just
Mhm.
sets you back a couple steps, especially if you're taking advice from someone that's maybe not even, an entrepreneur.
Yes, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, in terms of community, do you feel like you have community with that entrepreneurial focus? Because that's a huge thing. Everybody does not understand.
You do need a sense of community. And I remember going through this earlier this year, and I created a little group, and then I kind of crumbled and I recreated it. And it's just three of us now, and all of us are in our own lanes. My cousin, she's a personal trainer. Another lady that's with us, she is doing, clothing, her own clothing line. So we're all in different lanes, but
Yeah.
it's nice because why have another coach? You know what I mean? I don't need inspiration from a coach. I can take ideas from my cousin who's a personal trainer doing her thing. And I'm constantly like, well, what would it look like if I implemented that strategy? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Taking ideas from other places, which is phenomenal. And it's great to have a community. And if you can build that yourself with friends that are like, not judgmental, it's all good vibes. I recommend that you do it because it's good to have some support.
Yes, because I mean, you have highs, you know, and you most definitely have lows.
Yeah.
The process, right? And like,
Mhm. It's so true.
so yes. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Sophia.
Thank
Did
you
you?
for having me. I hope this is what you wanted. I'm just kind of flowing with it here.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is honestly my first show in the new rebranding sense. So thank you for rolling with me.
Yes, of course.
It's amazing because again, the point is to support other women who feel that call to creative entrepreneurship. There's so many different types of shifts that you have to go through to believe in yourself and believe in your idea and um, you know, hush the naysayers and
Yeah.
find who's going to support you and make this investment and just go out into the uncertainty. But there's certainly a way to do it. And that's what I'm here for. Like I want to see women who just feel the depth of the experiences that they have to offer to meet a purpose. If you feel that depth and you're looking for a space to bring that out in a personal brand, in the entrepreneurial endeavor, um, we're creating that space for that woman because, when you have that level of depth and you have that conviction for a purpose, it takes quite a bit of discovery work to make sense out of what feels really really mushy and really really rich, like like the clay that's really rich and mushy, but like this is the good stuff and this is going to be formed into something amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I am here for, is to help women through that discovery journey, that personal brand development journey, to build a profitable business. And so thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing your journey, all of the reels, right? Like the real reels. um,
You're
because
welcome. Thank you.
but I appreciate you so much. And I am looking forward to working with you more.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We will be in touch. Love you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.